All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Oh, yes.
It's a book that's been, really popular for a long time.
Definitely.
It also has gotten some mixed reactions.
Yeah.
Some people love it. Some people think it's a little out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to try to help you figure out if it is worth your time to read this book or not.
Yes.
And, self-help in general can be a mixed bag.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it really changes your life, and sometimes it's just kind of cheesy.
Totally.
And, you just end up with a bunch of books on your shelf.
Yeah.
But this one is considered a classic.
It is a classic.
So we brought in an expert to break it down for us.
Yes. Well, I have to say, right off the bat,
Okay.
it is a definite yes for me.
Okay.
Especially if you are at all interested in ideas like non-duality or just trying to find some more peace in your everyday life.
Yeah.
Tolle really nails the how of being present, which is a lot harder than it sounds.
Yeah. I think a lot of us hear the phrase power of now,
Yeah.
and we just think like, yeah, live in the moment.
Right.
Like, I've heard this before.
I know it can sound a little cliche,
Yeah.
but I revisited this book recently after years of personal growth, and
Right.
especially as I've been really diving into non-duality.
Mhm.
And Taylor's approach just really struck me this time around.
Okay, so what makes his take on this different?
Yeah.
Why is the power of now different from just, your average self-help book that says live in the moment?
Well, first off, his personal story is pretty powerful.
Okay.
He talks about hitting rock bottom at age 29,
Oh, wow.
suicidal thoughts, feeling totally trapped in his own mind.
Wow.
And then he had this profound shift in awareness
Okay.
where he realized that he wasn't his mind,
Hmm.
that there was this observer, this separate awareness.
Interesting.
And that's really the heart of non-duality, this idea that we are not just our thoughts and emotions.
Okay, so this is like this personal crisis was like the launch pad for his whole philosophy.
Exactly. And he actually says this in the book. He says,
Okay.
time isn't precious at all because it is an illusion.
Hmm.
What you perceive as precious is not time, but the one point that is out of time, the business. No, he's saying we get so caught up in the past and, regretting things that have already happened, worrying about the future,
Right.
that we miss the only thing that truly exists, which is this present moment.
Yeah, but isn't that what every mindfulness app is telling us these days?
Yeah.
How is he helping us actually get there?
Well, he dives into the mechanics of how our minds work.
Okay.
Specifically, this thing he calls the pain body.
Ooh, the pain body.
Which is basically a buildup of past emotional pain that keeps us stuck in this negativity loop. And he gives very concrete practices for disidentifying from the mind.
Okay.
So we can actually experience that peace that he's talking about.
So it's not just about positive thinking or trying to force ourselves to be happy?
No, not at all. It's more about becoming aware of what's happening inside us.
Okay.
Seeing those thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them.
Okay, so for someone picking up this book for the first time, what is the writing style like?
Yeah.
Is this a tough read?
It's actually very accessible.
Okay.
It's written in a Q&A format, which makes it really easy to follow.
Okay.
And Tolle's voice is surprisingly relatable. The audiobook is great, too.
Okay.
He narrates it himself, and he has this very soothing presence.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have to ask, because I've read some spiritual books.
Yeah.
And they just kind of repeat the same idea over and over again.
Right.
Does the power of now get repetitive?
There is some repetition,
Okay.
but I think it's intentional.
Right.
He's driving home a really simple but profound message,
Okay.
which is that true peace comes from being present, from detaching from the mind.
Okay.
And he uses different angles, different stories to really hammer that point home.
Got it. So were there any parts of the book that particularly resonated with you?
The chapter on the inner body was really impactful for me.
The inner body. Okay.
He talks about finding stillness by tuning into our physical sensations.
Okay.
Like our minds are constantly racing, right?
Yeah.
But our bodies are always here in the present moment.
So by paying attention to our body, we can actually quiet the mental chatter.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It's a way to shift our attention from that constant stream of thoughts
Okay.
to the felt sensations of the body. And that's a huge step in disidentifying from the mind.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this all kind of connects.
Yeah.
But how do you actually catch yourself getting lost in thought?
Yeah.
Like in everyday life?
Yeah.
How does this power of now actually play out?
Well, he uses this great image.
Okay.
He says, one day you may catch yourself smiling at the voice in your head as you would smile at the antics of a child.
Hmm.
It's about recognizing that those thoughts are just thoughts,
Okay.
not taking them so seriously.
Yeah, sometimes I catch myself getting like all worked up about something.
Yeah,
And then I'm like, wait a minute.
right.
Why am I giving this so much power?
Totally.
It's like realizing you're the one choosing to get hooked by the drama.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And that's what the power of now is all about.
Okay.
Recognizing that we have a choice
Hmm.
in how we respond to our thoughts and emotions.
Okay.
We can get lost in them, or we can choose to step back and observe.
This is really insightful. And the reviewer mentioned that this book sparked a deeper exploration of non-duality for them.
Yeah,
Did you have a similar experience?
definitely.
Okay.
It was a gateway to other teachers like Adyashanti,
Oh.
Rupert Spira,
Yeah.
who also explore these ideas. But
Oh.
the power of now was really my starting point.
Hmm.
And it gave me a language to understand what I was already experiencing.
So it's like the first step on a much larger journey.
Yeah, I think so.
And speaking of that journey, Tolle says, all negativity is caused by an accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're always focused on the now,
Hmm.
does that mean we'll never experience negative emotions again?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it gets to a common misconception about the power of now.
Yep.
It's not about becoming some emotionless robot.
Right.
We're human. We're going to experience the full range of emotions.
Yeah.
But Tolle's point is that our suffering comes from dwelling on the past
Okay.
or worrying about the future.
Right.
Yeah, it's not about denying those negative emotions, but changing our relationship to them.
Okay. So it's like, we don't have to pretend to be happy all the time,
Right, exactly.
but it's more about like how we're relating to those difficult emotions when they come up.
Exactly. He gives a great example of anxiety.
Okay.
Instead of getting lost in the worry,
Yeah.
he says acknowledge it, feel the sensations in your body, notice the thoughts that are running through your mind,
Hmm.
but don't identify with them. Don't let them define you.
Okay. That sounds a lot like mindfulness practices.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is the power of now similar to books on meditation?
There's definitely overlap,
Okay.
but I think where mindfulness is more about training your attention,
Yeah.
Tolle goes deeper into the nature of the self.
Okay.
He's asking, like, who is the one doing the observing?
Hmm.
What is this awareness that's always present, even when our thoughts and emotions are swirling around?
So it's like there's this deeper philosophical layer to it.
Yeah,
Okay. But for someone who's more practical, you
Yeah.
know,
right.
who just wants some tools to manage their stress, is this book still relevant?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He doesn't just talk about these concepts in the abstract.
Okay.
He gives very specific practices,
They're
like focusing on your breath,
Um,
connecting with the stillness within,
hmm.
becoming aware of the space between thoughts.
And do those practices actually work?
Well, you know.
Because I've tried meditating before.
Yeah.
And my mind just won't shut up.
He acknowledges that. He says it's a process, not a quick fix. And he even talks about how frustrating it can be
Okay.
when you first start trying to be more present.
Yeah.
But he encourages us to keep practicing, to keep coming back to that awareness.
Okay. It's reassuring to know he's not promising some instant enlightenment or something.
Right. And he's also honest about the fact that
Yeah.
there are going to be times when you get swept away by your thoughts.
Yeah.
When you fall back into old patterns.
Right.
But that's okay. It's part of the process.
Mm.
The key is to notice it
Okay.
and gently bring yourself back to the present moment.
So it's more about awareness than perfection.
Exactly. And that's what makes the power of now so relatable.
Okay.
He's not presenting himself as some guru who has it all figured out.
Right.
He's sharing his own journey,
Yeah.
his own struggles and insights,
Yeah.
and inviting us to join him on that path.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, we did get some listener feedback
Okay.
comparing this book to other spiritual works.
Mm-hmm.
How does the power of now stack up against something like, say, A New Earth,
Interesting question.
also by Eckhart Tolle?
I would say the power of now is more foundational.
Okay.
It's like laying the groundwork
Okay.
for understanding concepts like presence and ego.
Right.
And then A New Earth builds on those concepts
Got it.
and explores how they apply to creating a more conscious and compassionate world.
So if someone's brand new to Tolle's work,
Yeah,
The Power of Now is a good place to start.
definitely. It's his most popular book for a reason.
Yeah.
It's a really clear and concise introduction to his core teachings.
That's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But some reviewers did find Tolle's writing to be a bit repetitive.
Okay.
They felt like he was hammering the same point home over and over again.
I can see that perspective.
Yeah.
He does repeat certain phrases and ideas throughout the book,
Right.
but I think it's because he's trying to break through the mental clutter.
Hmm.
the years of conditioning that have taught us to live in the past and future.
Okay, so it's like he's intentionally using repetition to make the message sink in.
Exactly. It's like a mantra,
Okay.
a reminder to keep coming back to the present moment.
Right.
And I think that's what resonates with so many people.
Mhm.
It's a simple message, but it's incredibly powerful.
Now, I've also heard people say that Tolle's work can be a bit too out there,
Okay.
a bit too mystical for them.
Sure, that's understandable.
Yeah.
He does use some language that might sound esoteric
Oh.
or unfamiliar at first.
Yeah.
But if you strip away the jargon,
Oh.
he's really just talking about the human experience,
Okay.
about the ways we create suffering for ourselves
Mhm.
and how we can find freedom from that suffering.
So it's not just for spiritual seekers.
No.
It's for anyone who wants to live a more fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He's talking about universal truths that apply to everyone,
Okay.
regardless of their beliefs or background.
Now, I have to ask, because some folks were pretty critical,
Okay.
calling Tolle a con man, saying it's all psychobabble.
Right.
What do you say to those folks?
Well, I understand where that skepticism comes from.
Yeah.
The self-help world can be a bit of a minefield.
Right.
And there are definitely people out there who are preying on others' desire for happiness.
Yeah. So how do we know if a book like this is genuine? If it's actually offering something valuable?
I think it comes down to personal resonance.
Okay.
Does it speak to your own experience?
Hmm.
Does it challenge you to think differently about yourself and the world?
Okay.
And most importantly, does it inspire you to take action,
Hmm.
to make positive changes in your life?
Those are great questions to ask ourselves when we're evaluating any self-help book.
Right.
Not just The Power of Now.
Exactly.
That's great advice. So we've talked a lot about the positive aspects of The Power of Now.
Yeah.
Are there any potential downsides or criticisms that our listeners should be aware of?
One common criticism is that Tolle's approach can be a bit individualistic.
Okay.
He focuses on personal transformation, but doesn't really address systemic issues like poverty or injustice.
So it's like he's offering a solution for individual suffering,
Right.
but not necessarily for societal problems.
Right. And some people feel that this focus on individual enlightenment
Yeah.
can lead to a kind of spiritual bypassing
Okay.
where people ignore the real problems in the world
Right.
and just focus on their own inner peace.
It's like saying if everyone just became more present,
Yeah.
then all of our problems would magically disappear.
Exactly, and I don't think that's what Tolle is saying. I think he acknowledges that
Yeah.
there are many layers to creating a more just and compassionate world,
Yeah.
but his focus is on helping individuals find inner peace
Okay.
so they can then go out and make a positive impact on the world.
So it's like start with yourself,
Yeah.
but don't stop there.
Right, and I think it's important to hold that nuance. You
Yeah.
know, we can work on our own personal growth
Yeah.
while also being engaged in creating positive change in the world around us.
Okay, so it sounds like The Power of Now is not a cure-all,
Right.
but it can be a valuable tool for personal transformation.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a book that can be revisited
Oh, yeah.
at different stages of life.
Absolutely.
What resonated with you the first time you read it
Yeah.
might take on a whole new meaning years later.
Totally. It's a book that can grow with you as you evolve.
That's a great point. It's not a one-and-done kind of book.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so special.
Yeah.
It's a book that can keep offering insights and guidance as you continue on your journey of self-discovery.
This has been incredibly insightful.
Thank you.
So for our listeners who are curious about The Power of Now,
Yeah.
but still on the fence,
Yeah.
what would you say to them? Is this book worth their time?
I would say absolutely give it a chance.
Okay.
Go in with an open mind
Hmm.
and see if it resonates with you.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to question what you read,
Yeah?
to disagree with certain points, or to embrace the parts that really speak to your own experience.
It's like taking what works for you and leaving the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe The Power of Now will spark a profound shift in your own awareness. But even if it doesn't,
Yeah.
it's sure to get you thinking about the power of the present moment
Right.
and the choices that you're making each and every day.
That's a great takeaway. So, folks, if you're looking for a book that can challenge your thinking,
Yeah.
inspire you to live more consciously,
Mm-hmm.
and offer practical tools for finding peace in the midst of chaos,
Yeah.
then The Power of Now is definitely worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the good stuff about The Power of Now,
Yeah.
some of the criticisms too,
Right.
you know, comparing it to other books and practices.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like this can be a really impactful book.
Yeah.
but maybe not for everyone.
Right.
So what's your final verdict here?
Yeah.
Is this something our listeners should spend their time on?
For me, it's a resounding yes. Even with, some of the flaws we talked about.
Yeah.
The Power of Now offers a really compelling and accessible look at living a more present and peaceable life.
I love that.
And yeah, it's definitely sparked deeper exploration for me.
Yeah, to be honest, sometimes I feel kind of overwhelmed by all the self-help stuff out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, am I supposed to be meditating and journaling and doing yoga every day just to, like, function as a human?
Totally.
Does this book add to that pressure?
Well, that's so relatable. And I think, honestly, the reviewer kind of touches on this.
Okay.
They talk about having this whole stack of self-help books, including The Power of Now.
Yeah.
And even feeling like they were trying to learn non-duality from books.
Right.
When the point is that there's nothing to learn.
Right.
It's about recognizing the awareness that's already there.
So it's not about adding more to our to-do list,
No.
but more about shifting our perspective on what's already happening inside us.
Exactly. And it's like the reviewer says, the book is chiming with something deep inside me. There's no going back on this process once it started.
Wow.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that I am awareness that's always present, even amidst, the chaos of life.
So maybe the power of now isn't about fixing ourselves.
Yeah.
But about remembering something we've forgotten.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what makes this book so powerful. It's not about achieving some future state of enlightenment,
Okay.
but about coming home to ourselves,
Yeah.
to this present moment right here, right now.
This has been such a great discussion. Thank you so much for sharing your insights.
Of course, my pleasure.
So for our listeners who are now curious about the power of now,
Yeah.
what's the best way to approach it?
I'd say go in with an open mind.
Okay.
In a sense of curiosity. Don't feel like you have to agree with everything Tolle says.
Right.
Take what resonates with you, leave what doesn't. And see what unfolds. You might be surprised by what you discover.
That's great advice. And who knows, maybe the power of now will be the book that changes everything for you.
Maybe.
But even if it doesn't, it's bound to spark some interesting reflections
Oh, sure.
on how you're relating to your own life,
Yeah.
your thoughts, and this precious present moment.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.